All right, welcome to the explainer that is going to equip you with the actual science-backed strategies you need to execute the ultimate academic comeback. Seriously, if you've been feeling behind, a bit overwhelmed, or just completely unmotivated with your classes lately, you are absolutely in the right place. Look, let's just address the elephant in the room and confront a pretty frustrating reality. Studying for hours on end without seeing the results you want? Yeah, that leads straight to burnout. It is an incredibly heavy feeling to put in the effort, pull those miserable late nights, and then open up a test score that just doesn't reflect your hard work at all. But listen to me, you are not lazy. You just might be using the wrong tools. Well, we are going to fix that today. To reclaim your confidence and transform into an absolute academic weapon, we're going to follow this exact 5-step roadmap. We'll start with the academic comeback mindset. Dive into active versus passive learning. Pack up your academic weapon toolkit, build your study routine, and finally, go over discussing grades with professors. Let's start building that foundation with Section 1, the academic comeback mindset, thinking about thinking. Because resetting your mental approach is literally step 1 of any successful comeback story. So, the secret sauce to this mental reset is a concept from Florida Polytechnic University called metacognition. And honestly, that's just a fancy word for taking a time out to reflect on your own learning process. You know, we get so caught up in the actual act of doing our homework that we never stop to analyze how we're actually doing it. Metacognition is all about taking a step back and becoming a much more self-aware problem solver. You can really take control of your study sessions by just regularly asking yourself some self-reflective questions before, during, and after you read a textbook. Just ask yourself things like, wait, does this answer actually make sense? What strategy worked for me here? Or how does this even connect to what we covered last week? And honestly, the most powerful question you can possibly ask yourself is, what is confusing about this topic? Being brutally honest with yourself about what you don't get is the very first step to actually mastering it. Okay, mindset shifted. Now it's time for the training montage. Section 2, active versus passive learning, the science of retention. Let's replace those broken habits with some hard science. Here is the deal. Passive review feels easy. Rereading a chapter gives you this totally false illusion of mastery. Like, you recognize the words on the page, so you automatically think you know them. But true learning, that requires active retrieval. You literally have to close the book and pull the information out of your own brain. So we're going to stop relying on comfortable, ineffective passive review methods like highlighting, and instead we're going to force our brains to work harder using active recall techniques. Think flashcards, brain dumps, practice questions, the whole shebang. And if you're wondering why, check this out. According to a landmark 2008 study by Karpik and Roediger, students who used active recall retained a massive 80% of the material. I mean, they completely crushed the 30% retention rate of the passive reviewers. So it really isn't about how many hours you study, it's about how you use those hours. Active recall creates the actual neural pathways that lock the information in for good. Now that we understand the science behind memory, let's open up Section 3, the academic weapon toolkit, tactical study strategies. These are the specific, actionable methods that top students use to just dominate their coursework. First up, if focus is your biggest struggle, the Pomodoro technique is going to be your absolute best defense against burnout. You work intensely with 0 distractions for 25 minutes, and then you take a 5-minute break. After you do 4 of those cycles, you reward yourself with a longer 15 to 30-minute break. It's fantastic because it keeps your mind fresh and your energy levels incredibly steady. Next, to guarantee that complex information actually sticks in your long-term memory, you've got to follow a spaced repetition timeline. If you learn something on day 1, please don't just ignore it until the midterm. Review it on day 3, test yourself on day 7, and do a final review on day 14. This method systematically defeats the brain's natural forgetting curve because it forces you to review the material right at the exact moment you're likely to forget it. You can also experiment with a few highly effective, albeit slightly unhinged, study hacks. Try typing your notes in a genuinely hard-to-read font like Comic Sans. It actually forces deeper cognitive processing. Or try chewing a specific flavor of gum while studying to trigger sensory memory recall during your actual test. But my favorite? The ultimate hack is fake tutoring, which is based on the famous Feynman technique. If you can successfully explain a complex concept in really simple terms to a teddy bear, your dog, or literally just a blank wall, you truly understand it. And hey, if the teddy bear looks confused, you instantly know exactly where the gaps in your knowledge are. Moving on, remember that a true academic comeback requires endurance. Section 4, building your study routine. Marathon, not a sprint. Because at the end of the day, you simply cannot outstudy a bad routine. Enter the 8 plus 8 plus 8 rule. This number is basically the golden ratio for a sustainable lifestyle. It's about perfectly balancing 8 hours of sleep, 8 hours of productive work, and 8 hours of personal time to protect your mental health. I know the all-nighter is a classic college trope, but the science definitively shows us that sleep is when memory consolidation actually happens. If you're cutting into those 8 hours of rest, you are literally actively sabotaging your own academic performance. Now, of course, you can't be at 100% all the time, right? When you're feeling just way too exhausted for a heavy study session, you can still stay engaged by quickly running through the 3-2-1 method. You just jot down 3 things you learned, 2 questions you still have, and 1 way to apply the knowledge. It takes like maybe 2 minutes, but it ensures you end even your lowest energy days with some level of active cognitive engagement. Finally, let's prepare for the ultimate boss battle. Section 5. Discussing grades with professors. The final safety net. Let's talk about exactly what to do when things go wrong and you receive a grade you strongly disagree with. So, according to the CU Boulder Ombuds Office, you want to approach your professor with a flat, inquisitive tone to discuss objective grading criteria. And make sure you absolutely never accuse them of cheating you. That's a huge red flag. The goal here isn't to walk in, kicking down the door, demanding points. The goal is to ask specific questions about what would have made your work stronger. If you make it a productive conversation about learning rather than an angry confrontation, professors are usually incredibly willing to help. And sometimes you might just find that an honest grading mistake was actually made. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a final thought to really spark your journey. Take a look back at these proven tools and decide, what are you going to change today to reclaim your academic success? Are you finally ditching the highlighters for flashcards, or are you going to step up and guard those 8 hours of sleep like your life depends on it? An academic comeback isn't magic, guys. It is pure, science-backed strategy. So which weapon are you going to pick first to rewrite your story?